don't get comfortable. Like when you start to get to these certain, the next level of a brand, you're going to be like, oh, I'm here. You know what I mean? Well, that ain't shit. You know what I mean? Because in reality, it could all be gone tomorrow, and it sucks to think like that, but it could be. What's up, everybody? Here with Matt. We're going to talk a little bit about the inception of the brand today, kind of some of our struggles as a brand, why we started the brand, things like that. Get into the future a little bit. Open conversation with my boy. Been here since the beginning, us two. We're gonna hopefully give you guys some behind the brand today. So
I'm gonna start off. So I got a good first question. So inception of the vision. From the beginning, what was the? I know we were in college when. I mean, it was probably before that you actually thought of it. But I know you had a brand before, Levels, and that kind of didn't work out because your business partners and whatever it may be at the time. But what was the driving factor behind? I know it, but let's tell the audience. Like, explain more.
Yeah. So most people don't know that I actually had a little brand before I started Ironwilled. I won't go too much into that, but obviously it didn't really work out. But I made a graphic, a shirt that had Ironwilled on it for that brand. And when we decided to close things down, it was actually one of my good friends and mentors, Taylor, who had told me, he kind of put the idea in my head. He's like, hey, like Ironwilled is kind of a really cool name, much better than Levels. You know what I mean? That's what it was called, Levels at the time. So I really thought of that, and that's what kind of made me name it Ironwilled. And the reason I did that the reason I put it on the t-shirt for that brand prior is because that phrase is something that it just really resonated with me with the way that I grew up. Just seeing what my mom would do for me, what my dad would do for me, and a lot of moments of struggle, a lot of times of struggle and pain. They did everything that they could to give me the best childhood that they possibly could at the time. And just seeing what they had to go through, if one phrase could describe, what they went through, and honestly what I went through growing up, it was called Iron Will. So I thought that was a perfect name to create a brand that, biggest reasons I wanted to create a brand was because there was nothing that really existed on the market of things that I liked. I wanted to create a brand that, I was really big into fashion, streetwear, sneakers, and at the time, there's a lot more now, but at the time there wasn't many brands that were doing that. And I was like, perfect, I'm gonna create clothes that I like, you know what I mean? Because that didn't exist. So I did that, but also through with that and with the name and everything like that, I wanted to create a community of like-minded people that thought the way that I thought, people who had been through things and could reside and confide in a community together, and grow together, support each other, help each other through tough times. Because I kind of went through my whole childhood alone, very alone, didn't have anybody to help me or guide me. So I wanted to create a community for those types of people who didn't have anybody else. So that's really, what created the name and the brand itself, was the kind of combination of creating a brand of, for things that I wanted to wear, and, that kind of combined my inspirations, and then, just creating that community, creating that kind of, that hub for people to relate to one another. So.
And I think people hearing that now, they can resonate with that story of your childhood. Because again, like, I didn't have the same childhood as you. I come from a broken home. My family was divorced at a young age, but I didn't have the same struggles as you did, but I had different struggles. But having that mentality, and again, like, this isn't something that I thought of when I was a kid, but like looking back now in hindsight, it's like having an iron will, whether it be I was in sports, injuries in sports, whatever it may be, our family situations at home, getting through those situations. I think that's why a lot of people fuck with the brand, is because they can resonate with that message.
Yeah, and I knew at that time too, like, obviously, like, I had my given experience and upbringing and things like that, but I knew it was something that would apply to anybody, like whether they had the best childhood a kid could have, or a tough one. No matter what, like, you still got to really put in the work. You got to sacrifice, go through struggle, and and everything that comes with growth to actually achieve anything worthwhile. You know what I mean? So that's where, I knew that, it really could affect people and inspire people on a large basis, not just people, kids who went through tough shit. Obviously, like, that's a lot of our core audience is people who've been through, really tough times. But, whether you're an athlete, grinding to go to the NFL, an artist trying to, be able to create a living off of your work, no matter what, you got to go through really hard periods of doubt and struggle and questioning whether it's worth it, things like that. And that's what Ironwilled is for. You know what I mean? It's not just clothes. It's a mentality that you apply to your life when you're going through those things, no matter what you're kind of going through, to kind of really get you there, and that's what I try to do. That's what our job is, is to be an asset to everybody who's going through something or striving for more in their life, trying to achieve their dreams. Just giving them daily inspiration and a philosophy for life, an attitude towards life. That's really what it's about. So.
Yeah, I feel like some might say, well, how can we say that to people? You know what I mean? But, what we've done in the past 4 years, we've been through it all.
Yeah.
For every up and down in the business, every kick to the teeth and, getting back up. So we put a lot in. We have a lot of skin in the game when it comes to going through the struggles and then coming out on top and perseverance. So yeah, but going into that, what do you think? And I know this, but let's tell the audience, what do you think are the biggest challenges that we faced? Let's start in the beginning. So obviously we met in college. You started the brand. You moved to California by yourself to, kind of, mentor under someone else during their brand. And then, let's start there. What are the biggest challenges in that period of time? Because we weren't both full time. You weren't even full time.
Yeah. At
that time, and the company was, a 6-figure company at that time, and you weren't even full time.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about that.
Man, it'd be hard to. I'm gonna let you think about a couple specific ones.
I already know yours.
The biggest thing is at every level, at every phase of a brand or anything you're trying to do, the problems don't go away. They just get bigger. And, but the thing is, you get better and more able to handle them and overcome them
because of all the other things that you've gone through.
Yeah. And I think that was, within the first year or two of going through things, it's you really realize all right, that challenge we got, we thought it was the worst thing in the world. That's how you always think, right? You're in the midst of it. You're this is hell. I don't know if I'm going to get through this, work it out, whatever. And you always do. And then you get past it. And then once time goes by, you're look back, you're damn, if that happened now, we'd be fucked. You know what I mean? Or if I didn't go through that, there's no way I'd be able to do what I do now. So,
just looking back and seeing how minimal it was at that time, and at that time to us, it was such a massive impact on us.
Yeah, I know, right? But it shocks, when you go through those things, it changes the way that you operate and think, and they're so valuable. You know what I mean? I think that's such an important thing to understand. Is it's so you're never gonna think that when you're in the middle of a hardship or a really tough time. You're this is hell. You literally feel in your hell. You're in hell, but that's why the phrase I love is if you're going through hell, keep going. You're gonna get to the other side of it, and when you do, you're gonna be better from it. You're gonna be more confident in your ability to go through things, in the future that are even harder, and you're just gonna have all that knowledge and wisdom based on what you just went through to apply to future things. You can help inspire. It's all part of your story. You can help inspire people. So there's been so many. It feels every month, every
week,
there's always something. You know what I mean? If you're trying to do big shit, man, the problems that you have, they never really end. It's every day we kind of have to deal with something, and obviously there's big ones that take up weeks or months maybe. But what would you say is some of the bigger ones that we faced?
Well, we've had different stages of the journey. So I would say in the early stages, just even communicating with each other was so hard because we were 3 hours apart in time difference. I was going to school full time. You were going to school full time, and you had a full time job. So really and you had a girlfriend. I had a girlfriend at the time. Now my wife. Hey, Shelby. And yeah, it's just we had to do phone calls at midnight my time, because that's when you could start working for the Ironwilled, which was at 9 p.m.
Yeah, my work hours were 4 to 6 and 9 to 11, 12.
Yeah. So literally giving a 6-figure company only 3 hours of dedicated work a day is honestly crazy. So yeah, I think the communication part, being halfway across the country, that was obviously tough. Having real no background in business and figuring out a lot of stuff, well, obviously from, your mentor, Taylor, helping and like seeing stuff that they did and then try to, figure it out ourselves. And that was pretty tough, not having any prior knowledge going into this. Like we were both going for strength and conditioning and exercise science physiology. There's literally almost no practical business translation from those. I think the majority of our like real grit came from just like being in the military and like having to just endure bullshit for years on end.
Yeah, thankfully we had that experience, and we had a lot of the intangible stuff required, I think, to go through the early stages of the brand. Because we had no business experience. I liked fashion and sneakers, but I was by no means deep into fashion or understood garments or anything like that. I couldn't tell you what GSM meant at the beginning. I couldn't tell you what, like, I just kind of had my idea of like what a quality fabric should be, but like, looking back on it now, it's like, geez, we put out some like bad,
to be fair,
stuff.
Our BSTR drop, people still wear those T-shirts. I just saw someone wear it the other day, and it's still their favorite T-shirt.
It was like, it was.
It's not comparable to what we are
we
now.
overthink it. Yeah, we know our standards now, so we're always gonna look back and be like, this sucks. But
yeah,
it's just like at that time, it was just kind of shooting in the dark. But the intangibles are so important, and that's what people don't understand. Like you don't need to be an expert. You just have to start. And if you can just have or develop the intangibles like perseverance, like being disciplined and being consistent, like it's cliche, but those are the things that I think have got us to this point even now through a lot of the hard times, but especially early on, like if you're trying to build a brand or trying to build something that matters, that is hard to do, like it's those kinds of things, like work ethic, persistence, consistency, discipline. Like it's there's no way around it. You have to have the fundamentals, the intangibles that and that's going to carry you through the eat shit phase, because you're eating a lot of shit when you start. We ate a lot of shit,
mouthfuls.
You know what I mean? So, but yeah, any other kind of defining moments would you say for us?
Just to add on that before we defining moments, being comfortable in uncomfortable situations. I think that's like one of probably the most important things that we've kind of adapted and like almost learned to do is be comfortable in uncomfortable situations, whether it be financial or delays in shipping, just things that are really gonna put cogs in our wheels, and just staying cool. And no one would, I don't think half the time no one would ever know. There could be a fire in our office and not one person out here would even know what's going on. And again, like if they need to know, they'll know, but for the most part, like being cool in those situations really is the difference between us making it through it and us really not making it through it. So, and that's not something that's like, I think that's a learned technique. It's not something that you're just born with, being cool in uncomfortable situations.
You got to go through
repetitions. Rep after rep. We're putting reps in every week, every month.
You got to have your shit eating rep. You got to have the reps of eating shit.
Just mouthfuls, spoonfuls. Ezekiel Elliott. Shout out Zeke.
But yeah, so what are some of the other kind of at least just bigger challenges that you think that we've gone through, or even you as your position, and let's kind of focus it on the team development. So for those years it was just us two, right? And we had, thankfully, we got Josh early on designing, so that was huge for us because I was trying to obviously build a brand, but by no means I was like a pretty decent graphic designer. I could do, I made the dagger. We did a lot of stuff with the dagger on it because it's like that's all I could really do, and I'd just take and kind of put random things together. So for the most part, it was first year and a half maybe it was just us two doing things. So when we started kind of scaling the team, so that if you're in that phase or you're kind of just you right now, just know that when you build a team, like that's going to create a whole new ecosystem of problems. It's great.
Good problems.
It's great.
Good
yeah,
problems.
A lot of good ones. So when we started scaling the team, how was that for you being more of the people person, and obviously now, so for you, those of you who don't know, Matt runs all the operations here, the day-to-day stuff. Really just manages all the team performance-wise, schedule, things like that. So what would you say early on were some of your biggest challenges in growing our team?
It was definitely easier in the beginning. I think it was just you, me, and Adonis that were like really coming into the office full time. At that point, like we all had our set roles of what we were doing, And it was really easy because the company wasn't as big as it is now. So everyone had their roles. Everyone was able to do their roles. There wasn't very many at the end of the day.
Yeah, we had brought Adonis on very early. He moved out from New York pretty much with us about a month later. From when I moved from California, you moved from New York. So I just want to establish that Adonis was the first one physically with us. After it was just us two. We had Josh designing, helping. But it was just us three when we first moved out to Arizona.
Yep, and then we brought Haley on, and then she was able to like relieve a lot of the stuff that like just cluttered up our days. So like I'd say it was pretty easy in the beginning because we brought people on almost like one by one as necessary. So we didn't just bring people on to bring people on. We brought people on for specific roles that, you know, Derek and I just couldn't like handle doing like accounting stuff, or we couldn't handle doing HR stuff. It just wasn't optimal for our schedules to be putting our time into those things. So we brought people on to, you know, free up our time and the things that, you know, we thought that weren't necessarily the best use of our time, and then gave those roles to someone else who like that was their primary focus. And then from there, you know, just growing their roles to be in a position to where they outgrow their position, and then we need to bring another person on. So I think at every stage, like we didn't just bring people on. And if you're in this position as an entrepreneur and you're trying to figure out, okay, well, who do I need? So like assess, you know, what you can get rid of, the most important things that you're doing, assess what is the least important things you're doing, and find someone to delegate those least important things to that next person. And then from there, like that's how you grow your operation. Essentially, that's what happened with Adonis too, is like his roles and responsibilities became so much greater that he had to delegate to the next person, and then they delegated to the next person. It's almost like a trickling effect down. But yeah, like I'd say the most important thing with bringing people on is like bringing the right people on.
Yeah.
Bringing the right people on for the need that we have. So not just bringing people on because they're your friends, or bringing people on for whatever other reason it may be, but like when you truly have a need for a position, like bring the right person on. And I would say every single person here that we brought on has been almost generic or within our circle of people that we brought on. Like no person has really been out of our circle.
No, we haven't like hired or put up a job listing, or we put out maybe 2 or 3 times on our stories, like looking for a videographer, content creator, warehouse help, you know, so things like that. But yeah, everything's been organic.
Yeah.
I think that kind of, you know, applying that to just life in general, I think, you know, it's with us in business, like it's really about the people that you surround yourself with, you know. So it's like whether it's you're building a team for a business or just kind of your team for your life around you, like you have to think like, what are they contributing to your goal, and what are you doing for them type of, you know, you always kind of have to make sure that there's that equal trade-off with you know, you don't want to take advantage of anybody, of course, but like you don't want to also be taken advantage of on the other side of the coin. And so, you know, so what are you guys bringing to each other's life? And then too, are they negative? Are they bringing you down? Are they involving you with drama? Are they are they toxic? Things like that, you know what I mean? And those, you know, we've had a little bit of that that we've had to weed out, you know, here. And I think that just in life, that's so important, is like if they're either helping you or hurting you. I've always kind of lived by that principle. So, you know, again, business or life, you got to really kind of weed out the ones that sometimes it's your best friend, sometimes it's a family member, you know what I mean? You know, it's kind of some people here that we've been close with that we've had to, you know, kind of let go for this reason or that. But
it's hard.
You gotta keep your circle tight. You also just have to be very, you know, you know, like cognizant of the people that are in your circle and what they're doing for you, what you're doing for them, and whether it's a mutually beneficial thing that you're creating. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think like that's, you brought up a valid point. You just have to be cognizant of like it's a business at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of friendships and families that we built from this business. But at the end of the day, everyone knows that like the business has to come first. There's too many people that rely on this for us to just, you know, make a decision based off friendship. Mm-hmm. And again, like at the end of the day, we're not just gonna be cold-hearted and make a decision that's gonna screw someone over. But at the end of the day, like if you're not taking the business into account, then, you know, you're hurting, you know, thousands of people. There's thousands of people that look for this for inspiration every single day. There's people's lives that depend on this, athletes who get a paycheck from this. So it's not just, you know, you're not just thinking about ourselves anymore. We have a whole ecosystem of people from the Ironwilled that we have to think about, not only internal team, but, the people who follow us for a reason.
Great.
And if something, is to jeopardize that, then, we have to do what's right, even though, that might be the hardest thing and I think that goes back to it. Like, that's the hardest thing is like the disciplinary aspect of the position I'm in. It's, having all my friends and now family that you have to discipline them, or you have to like say some shit that might hurt their feelings, but it's the truth. And again, like that's where it's like business and friendship, they don't really go well together. But at the end of the day, like if you have a good team and they understand the value of being transparent and like having that sort of rapport between each other, you can have those issues where, hey, someone's fucking up, you tell them straight how it is, and then you're back to normal right after that.
Yeah, I think, I'm sure a lot of you guys here, I hear it, like, don't start a business with your friends, or, don't get into business with friends, whatever, and like, you definitely can. And I think that's the best, almost the best part of what we do is like, we work with everybody. Like, I love everybody I work with, and I think that, like, that's how you really create a great organization, is like, if you really create that family with everybody. I've had it go the other way around, so where I've had people, friends who, relationships got affected because of business, so I've been on both sides of the coin. But I will say, like, don't take that word as law. Don't take that, like, don't go into business with friends. Like, if you can have those standards, if you can have that line, if you can establish that line and be disciplined with that line, you can definitely make it happen. It's very, very hard to do, but it's worth it if you can, really achieve that ability to, be able to manage both of them. So
I think it works so well with us because we're almost polar opposites in the type of personalities we have. I think that's, so if you're going into business with your friend, make sure they're like completely opposite of you. Yeah.
yeah.
So the grind and mental attitude, how did that get infused into like the company's aura, like what we are as a company? That is what the company is. So where did that get interjected, I guess?
Yeah, really, this is the way I grew up. I don't like to go too deep into it too much, but yeah, I didn't have the best upbringing, and with that, it really just created this like hunger for me. It started like I didn't want my kids or my future family. This is as far back as I can remember. I didn't want them to have to go through like what I was going through. And I remember I was 14 when I first realized this. It's like my son, my daughter, when I'm older, like I don't want them to have to go through what I had to go through growing up. So that was kind of what really instilled that like ambition in me. And then also too, it's like seeing my mom go through some of the things that she went through. I was like, no, like I got to do this for her. I want to put her up in a house, a beautiful house, and buy her a car and do all these great things, for her. And then those two kind of create, combined. And then I wanted to live a life that I could, I guess, with a lot of things, everything was out of my control as a kid. I didn't have a home for a while. I couldn't do anything about it. I didn't have lights or cold or hot water. I couldn't do anything about it. So it kind of developed in me, I think, like, I wanted to have like control over my life. Like I wanted to have the freedoms, options, and choices to really be able to do whatever I wanted for myself, but also for other people. Again, and that's kind of where my mom comes into play. Is like, I just developed this kind of almost disgust with like seeing people going through pain, and I wanted to be able to create such a life for myself to where I could help as many people not be in pain or not suffering as much as possible,
or learn how to, and like get the knowledge of how to not be in that position.
Yeah, exactly.
Or knowing that you can be in that position now, but that doesn't define the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't define because look at you, you're the perfect example of like you lived that type of life, and then look at what we've built now.
Yeah, exactly. Like to show people in those things, it's like, yes, and be a model, be a inspiration to people. Yeah, just that's what developed that desire to inspire, I guess, that I have through the brand, and why the brand takes that so seriously is because shit that I was going through, the shit that a lot of people go, there's far, far worse situations and circumstances that I went through. I understand that, but like I want to help those. You know what I mean? Like I want to show those people that there is a way out, and it's like there is light at the end of the tunnel. You know what I mean? And that's why we take it so seriously as a brand. That's like why I want to create the most inspirational brand is like that I possibly can, or in the world, is because like This shit's really not like, when it comes down to that shit, like that shit, there's nothing fun about that. There's no joke. You cannot enjoy life. You cannot, like, when you're down bad like that, like, it is rough, like, you think bad things sometimes, and, this shit's not a joke. So that's why we take it so seriously, is because the things that I went through and things that I saw, just, again, all of those kind of cultivated that hunger in me, that ambition in me, that kind of relentless drive. And, I really had to dig my way out of that. You know what I mean? Like, the second I got a job, I started paying my phone bill. My first job, I was working at a water park, blowing up rafts and handing them out to kids by mouth. That's how it started.
I didn't know if you had like a.
No, we had a little.
Okay, I didn't know. Okay. That would have been tough. That would have been. Yeah. You would have been paid very well, I hope, for that job.
I had a promising career ahead.
What the future opportunities?
But making like $7 an hour, and
damn,
started paying my phone bill.
Damn.
Like from the second it was all me. You know what I mean? So it's like, you
got forced to grow up really fucking fast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I just I just grinded my way out. Didn't get accepted into college. I did great in school, but joined the military, grinded through that, and from the second I was making okay money in the military, I was sending money home, providing for my family, helping even friends and shit. So that's kind of always been my life is that, but like through that, it's just, it's always been, I just want to help people, you know what I mean? But that's kind of what created that hunger in me of like, I had to claw myself out of that situation, because everything I was surrounded by where I was living it was poverty. It was not nice situations. It was a lot of bad shit. So I was like, I knew I didn't want to be there. And I knew it's just like, this was going to get me there. You know what I mean? I didn't know that exactly at the time, but it's thankfully I just adopted that mentality of like, all right, like, I got to get myself the fuck out of this shit. And every single day I worked from, again, when I was 15 years old to get myself out of it. And I did. So.
Yeah. And I'd say that's the mentality that we instill in everyone here too now. Mm-hmm. So it's not like the stuff that we talk about, the stuff that we show on Instagram, like, yes, there is a story behind it, but a lot of that's not, it's nonfiction. Like, it's real. We live this stuff that we preach in our videos every single day. It's not like we're just saying, hey, you need to do X, Y, and Z, and then we're not also doing X, Y, and Z before. So it's like our whole team internally is living by the standards that we, really showcase on our Instagram. And like, that's the mentality that we believe in. And that all sprung from you as a kid. And your kind of upbringing and the harsh reality that you had to kind of deal with, has shaped in the way that we kind of lead here, and the way the company operates and the people within the company conduct themselves, right? So it's kind of wild to see that just something like that can really change the way that the whole, trying to figure out how to word this.
It's the way that we operate,
yeah,
just the way that we.
Because I didn't before. I mean, how I was, especially in college, and even till getting up. I forgot what it was. We had a conversation in one of your cabanas one time, and then from that moment, it's just like something clicked and something changed, and just being able to operate on that next level, and then getting everyone else to operate on that next level too.
Yeah. It's like I just didn't have shit, so it's like everything that I achieved and did, like I had to, like, it's hard to explain, but it's like I didn't have anything for me, so it's like I had to go the hard route through everything. You know what I mean? Like, I had to develop these intangibles and these things, and it's like through that, thankfully, I'm realizing so much now. Like, I don't like to talk about the shit because I don't like to like victimize myself for the shit, and try to play that whole card and shit. But it's like I realized so much, and it's like, thankfully I went through that shit, so I was able, I'm able to like really understand what it takes to like really get out of the hard times. You know what I mean? Like, really get out of the mud. Like, it takes those. I was a kid. Like, I didn't have money. I didn't have leverage or anything to figure, to do it, and I just had to like claw my way out. You know what I mean? And I think that can apply to anything in life. Like, you might not have all the resources. Like, you're not gonna have any resources or anything or much money when you're starting a brand or starting any endeavor, but you just got to get creative. You got to figure it out. You know what I mean? When you're back against the wall is when you're actually, I think you're at your most powerful, because you're forced to use this like more than you ever have before and in ways that you never have before. And that's truly, I think, where your like power comes from. Because if you're comfortable, if you're just coasting, like, you're not going to think those ways. Like, you're not going to know that I need to get better here, or see this weak point, or identify this blind spot. Like, when you're going through it, like, you think about every possible thing you got to improve and get better at and shit like that. You know what I mean? So thankfully, it's like, that's what I was saying earlier in the podcast. It's like the hard times are the best times. I don't want to say the best times, but the most valuable times, because of what you get out of them, like what it does for you and how it changes your perspective and your outlook on life, your attitude towards life. And again, it was all that created the Ironwilled, and that attitude or philosophy, which is an attitude for life,
And that mentality isn't like a linear progression. Like, there's been times where like you've been very high and it still came back down, and you still had those bad thoughts, or you're not always at that high. You're not always going up like this. Sometimes you plateau, sometimes you dip a little bit lower. But again, like, that's what, like, the understanding of, like, I've gone through hard shit, and it's gonna get hard again, but I'm gonna bounce back every single time. Like, having that determination that I'm gonna get out of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's that understanding too, like understanding yourself. And I still haven't even fully done that, but it's like when I go through something like really difficult, like, I know it's like a lot of like my anxiety and a lot of the things that I go through here is due to the way that I was raised. So it's really is a blessing and a curse, but you have to be able to manage the dark side of it, utilize it for good, utilize it, channel that dark side of you, that pain and that suffering and things that you've been through for something positive. And then, like, again, you just got to understand yourself and where you've been and like where you come from in order to do that, so.
From the jump, obviously, where we started is completely different from where we are now, right? When we started, it was solely just a bodybuilding brand. There's been a unique evolution from, year one to now going on year 4. There's been a lot of, I wouldn't say direction changes, but slight pivots to go in different directions that we thought might be the best at certain times. But what is the future evolution of the company? What is the evolution of the company looking like?
Yeah. So, that's something that I definitely really struggle with, because it's like, at the beginning we were very strictly bodybuilding, you know what I mean? Like, not just like the gym, like bodybuilding. We had some big athletes signed early on, a great team of athletes. We had Kyron Holden. He was a big addition for us early on, a big athlete. And since it kind of changed, because, at that time I wanted to be a bodybuilder. I was full force. I, was competing. I had Olympia aspirations. And then once Ironwilled kind of took that next leap, like that first leap to where it's like, oh shit, like, this is something here. We started to build a little community. I just kind of had this tick. It was like, it's either business or bodybuilding type thing for me at that point. Like, I knew I had to focus on one or the other. Cause bodybuilding, like, and I have so much respect for it, because one, I went through it at a certain level. But two, it's like, I know how much it requires out of you, even just through the couple preps and shows that I did.
As an amateur.
Even as an amateur. Yeah. So I knew that I only wanted to be able to give all to one or the other. And, at that kind of fork in the road, it was Ironwilled. Yeah. So, with that, I just kind of lifted for recreation and, lifted like a bodybuilder, but, I wasn't competing or focused or it kind of took my, I was very deep into like the industry and all that kind of stuff. And then I just kind of like, business really took over my life, and that's where I wanted to develop and what I wanted to give my time and energy towards. So with that, it kind of, that's kind of where, bodybuilding kind of, it was still a major part of the brand, and it still is. But, my aspirations had changed, and, through that process, through that evolution, to where we are now, I've tried to optimize my life, my mind, my body, my spirit, to create the best brand possible to, and fulfill our mission as a brand, to inspire people. So everything I do has, while back then it was for bodybuilding, everything I did, the way that I ate, the way that I trained, the supplements that I took, just the creatine and the oatmeal, optimized to become a professional bodybuilder. Now it's to become as mentally fit, as physically fit, as, mentally and physically sound, everything to be the best entrepreneur, to be the best leader of the brand that I possibly can be. Through that, again, it's just the mentality has kind of, it's just become a mentality for me. It's not anything. And I realized through all that, like, this isn't something that can only apply towards a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've always been very big into sports and music, and, you know, with those influences, I was like, you know, I would hear things that I would think are true and philosophies and ideas in music that I liked.
Yeah.
And I would hear it from athletes that I loved, you know, like on, you know, outside of bodybuilding.
Yeah.
And that's where I knew, like, wow, like this thing that I have, this thing that I'm trying to create is applicable, you know, in all these realms.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's kind of what, you know, why, you know, we started to kind of expand it a little bit. You know, and I've realized, you know, that's a whole other podcast discussion, but, you know, with that brings up a lot of challenges when you already have kind of an established core base and the brand changes and it doesn't become strictly for them anymore. You know what I mean? And again, that there's a lot of challenges with that, still is a challenge to this day. But, you know, that's really the biggest thing is, like, you know, it's, you know, obviously we create, you know, for, you know, primarily people in the gym and who are going through things and stuff like that. But again, it's really the realization that the mentality that we're trying to, you know, the philosophy that we're trying to, you know, spread and have people adopt is applicable for really anybody,
Yeah.
you know, who has ambition, who's going through something, who's on their journey, on their pursuit of their potential. And that's what we have become. You know what I mean? We try to do that through stories of bodybuilding athletes, of general athletes, of artists, of creatives, of the everyday person who has gone through things, because everybody goes through something. You know, everybody's fighting something, and, you know, we're the brand for those people who are fighting something, who are striving to achieve more for themselves, for their family, for their life in whatever realm. You know, so I think that's, you know, does that answer the
Yeah.
the
It's
question?
much bigger than one just sport.
Yeah,
Than one sport.
yeah. There's more, you know, and yeah, like, you know, we want to inspire. Like, again, our mission is to inspire as many people as possible. You know what I mean? You know, and that's where it's that kind of evolution and expansion has really comes, because to touch people outside of just the one niche. You know what I mean?
Nothing's changed.
Yeah.
Nothing has really changed. It's just showcasing more than just bodybuilding, showcasing the Division I athlete, or, you know, that's
Athletes
what it
at
is.
high levels.
Athletes
you know?
at high levels.
That's always what it's been. Chiron was the first one. He was a bodybuilder. You know, since we've had college guys, NBA guys, you know, what did it take to get there? Like, dissecting, you know, and finding the commonalities amongst these high performers and these high achievers of, like, how did you get there? Like, what is your story? And using those to inspire.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Again, it's not limited to one sport or anything like that.
It's just different vessels for different people.
Yeah.
Different audiences.
Yeah, but the biggest thing, you know, getting to that deep part of that, you know, all that is just like the exterior, what they're into, their passion,
the fluff.
like getting deep into who they are and their why. You know? I mean, the why is much deeper than, like, you know, like
The how or the what.
Yeah, and what they're trying to become on the outside. It's hitting people on the inside.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, with that, you know, with that evolution, and what would you say kind of like where we're evolving now? Like, what do we kind of have on the horizon? Like, what are we kind of growing into? Or, you know, what are some of the things that we're kind of getting involved in? Or, you know?
I think it's just focusing on our big three things, which is the grind, the art, and the products. Those are the only things that matter, I think, for us. And, you know, it's been some time since, you know, we've been almost like checked into the boards a few times lately, because, you know, I feel like we've gotten a little bit away from those things, and that's what attracts so many people to the brand, is like your art, your vision for it. And I think, like, that's what's on the horizon, is getting back to telling these, you know, phenomenal stories of people who are going through the struggle. Again, product innovation, something that we've always done and continue to do, but also along with that is the art of it.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like every brand, there's so many brands out there, clothing brands out there, that are, you know, I wouldn't say doing the same thing, but again, it's a saturated market. There's a lot of the same stuff, and how do we differentiate ourselves? It's the art of it. Everyone's got products, everyone has a story, but the art of it is how we differentiate ourselves. So, like, you know, you and Corey getting creative, like, I'm not in that realm, so I can't really talk too much to it, but you know, there's a huge difference from when we're operating from a place of art and when we're not, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a whole other podcast, you know what I mean? Because, like, the things that I, like, it's almost sad, it's like, it's depressing to say, but it's like, when we kind of lost our we didn't, like, lose our way, like, we just kind of like we're on the same road, but kind of like in a different lane, you know what I mean? Or, like, you know, kind of veering out of our lane a little bit, with, like, kind of what we were doing, the look, the vibe of everything. And but it's like that phase is like when I wasn't kind of going through anything. Like I was comfortable, I think.
Complacent.
I think I was comfortable in those, like, you know, I wasn't going through anything mentally, thankfully, but I also like wasn't pushing myself to the point to where like in any realm. Like obviously as an entrepreneur, like I'm always trying to learn and get better, but like there wasn't any like I wasn't stressing myself in a way that I needed to like actually be who I am. Like it's like the grind is almost like who I am. Like I have to be going through something, you know, no, ideally not mentally to the point where like I'm depressed or anything, but like I have to be pushing myself like past my limits and operating like closer to my potential or at my potential at that moment. You know, I think your potential is always expanding, but like living up to the potential me at that moment or in that phase. And I think I wasn't doing that. Like I was just like comfortable. Like I was like, I knew I was getting better and things like that, but it was just kind of like this new baseline that I was operating at, right? Like you guys know me, I've always been like dedicated and ambitious and always working and shit like that, but it's like it wasn't done in the right way, and it wasn't done to the best ability that it could. So yeah, you know what I mean. And I had to like go through, you know, I had to go through something really dark, a dark place mentally to find that out and to like really find like, no, like this is who I am. Like I have to be going through this physical grind, this mental grind, so that I don't go through hell mentally. You know what I mean? And then the brand can be what it needs to be. You know, and
it's a lobster shell analogy. It's you have to, if you want to grow into a bigger shell, you have to shed your shell, be vulnerable to be able to grow into that new shell. And that's exactly what you just described.
Yeah.
You know, you were complacent in your shell essentially. And then, you know, you had to shed that shell, become vulnerable, go through whatever that might be mentally or physically to get to that next level, to grow into that next thing. It's a constant cycle of being vulnerable and growing from that vulnerability.
But yeah, I mean, the biggest things is just, and you know, we kind of started hitting I think a level of, I don't want to say success, because like I don't know if I'll ever like feel that way, but like we reached a certain point to where like we kind of had new opportunities coming to us and new like, you know, we had more people, and we started like, we kind of said yes to like everything. You know, we started getting involved in more athletes and, you know, like pro athletes, and all this kind of stuff was going on. And I think our focus got like spread out way too thin with all of these cool things that were going on. Like, you know, like, oh cool, you know, we're doing well as a brand, and we're getting new opportunities coming at us, and people trying to, you know, help us or be attached to us in some way. And we said yes to a lot, and we didn't focus on the things that mattered. So I think, you know, I think we're so aligned right now in like what we need to do, who we need to be, focusing on our fucking people and not anybody else. You know, not the hate, you know, not people who are hating, not people who don't like us, like focusing on the people that fucking matter, which is you guys, our fucking people. And yeah, just staying aligned with who we are, bro. And we had to go through those periods to realize that. You know what I mean? Like we had to go through that shit.
Those were super necessary.
Yeah. You know, and here we are, you know, like the response, you know, at the time of this podcast, we're 3 days out from fall, you know, we're feeling great about it. Everybody's extreme, you know, the response from you guys has been fucking amazing. You know, and it's all because we got aligned with who we needed to be, and that led right into fall and us creating fall the way that it is. So
it put us in a position to where our backs were against the wall, and we had no other choice. And that created the success of, you know, what the success is going to be of fall. All right, so we've been talking for about 45 minutes now, so let's wrap this up. What would you say is one piece of advice? So whether it be business or personal, for personal growth, or, you know, just to an entrepreneur that might be listening and be inspired by the story and, you know, need some information that might help them get through to the next stage. So what do you got for them?
Just don't get comfortable. That's kind of been the big thing in my life lately. Like the thing that, you know, I use it as an Instagram caption like last week. Just kind of the I guess maybe the chapter title for you know, the phase that I've been going through the last couple months. Don't get comfortable. And I just kind of talked about it a little bit, but you always got to be pushing yourself to new limits. You always have to, you know, there's always a potential you that to be striving for. So it's like you start operating at, you start becoming who you want to be. Well, make sure that you're looking at like what's next. Like how can I continue to get better? Like how can I like you have to really push yourself and always kind of be under stress to a certain point. And there's a flip side of the coin to that. It's like, make sure that obviously you're not so stressed to where you're burning out, because that's just going to make things worse. You're going to be more tired. You're not going to be as good cognitively. You're not going to be as energetic. Your attitude's going to be poor. So there is a balance to be had there, but don't get comfortable. Like when you start to get to these certain, the next level of a brand, you're going to be like, oh, I'm here. You know what I mean? Well, that ain't shit. You know what I mean? Because in reality, it could all be gone tomorrow, and it sucks to think like that, but it could be. You need to use that as a motivating factor, because you're gonna get to that point. If you're watching this, you're building the brand. Like, you, first of all, you can fucking do it. You just have to push through. Push through these times that you're in. But you're gonna get to that level, and you're like, wow, I've arrived, and it's like, ooh, it's like you're excited, but it's like, all right, I'm here. Like, what's next? You know what I mean? Like, him and I have a like, we always say, we learned this from Tim Grover in the book Winning, but it's done next.
Yep.
So as soon as you hit that goal you have, as soon as you accomplish that, whatever, enjoy it in the moment. I think Andy Frisella has like a rule, like no celebrating more than 24 hours, and then you're right on to the next fucking thing. You know what I mean? So.
Which could be to our detriment too, because
we don't enjoy.
We don't enjoy the.
That's what he always also says, is like, I wish I would have enjoyed the little wins. So celebrate the little wins too. But it's like, don't get comfortable with where you're at. Don't be satisfied with hitting this goal. Like, there's always the next one to hit, and but make sure you, again, give yourself grace and be proud of yourself for hitting that. Celebrate a little bit, and then right fucking back at it. So yeah. What about you? What advice would you give?
I can't emphasize personal development enough.
Yeah.
Ever since, those of you may know, some might not know, but we've implemented a book club here at Ironwilled. So every internal employee is reading their own book, whether it be for personal development or role development in their current positions where they work here. But you and I have been doing that well before you, well before me, but me well before anyone else here. In implementing that. The book club, or just some sort of personal development, whether it be reading, every single day has truly changed the way that I operate, and I feel like everyone else has operated here since we've done that. I can't stress enough that I was not someone who enjoys reading. I am not someone who would go out of my way to pick up a book, but 10 pages a day, it's super simple. And the amount of benefit that I've gotten from that is astronomical. So prioritize your personal development. Like, I know a lot of you listening right now prioritize your physical development, but mental development is just as fundamental as physical development. Because if you have a fucking hard body but a soggy mind, like, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. So you gotta work on both. And then again, like, I don't even think I'm to the point where like, I don't develop my mental enough. You know what I mean? I'm not like a very spiritual type person. So that's something I'm working on to be a complete package, I guess. You know what I mean? Like, when you look at a 2K player, like, they have different attributes. It's their shooting, it's their dribbling, it's their defense. So again, like, I know you looked at it that way and gamified it a little bit, but kind of almost assessing yourself and seeing where you're weak, and then really taking the time to develop those weak points, because being a businessman and just being in this industry, like, we have to be ready for anything coming to us, whether it be physical or mental. So,
and just anybody has to be that way.
Yeah,
because
anyone.
Business and life are the same thing. When we say business, like, and you're not trying to be an entrepreneur, or aren't managing and running a business, like, the same goes for your life. You know what I mean? Like, life's gonna hit. Like, life is, unexpected is gonna happen, whatever it might be. You know what I mean? You got to be fucking ready. You know what I mean? So that's why this has to be good. That's why this has to be good. Your spirit has to be good with however, if you're spiritual, religious, whatever it might be. And that's how I try to live my life, and how we kind of all are too, is just like being our best. Like, that's it. You know what I mean? If there's certain things you don't care about, like, you don't care about looking good or whatever, like, hey, that's on you. But like, with the things that matter, like, focus on being your absolute best, and also looking at what actually matters objectively. Like, I say that, but it's like, your body's pretty damn important, so you might want to take that somewhat seriously. You know what I mean? At least be healthy. You don't have to be shredded, or anything like that. But, it's like, focus on the things that matter, and take your shit seriously, because you only get one life. So might as well put in the work to build the one that you want, and might as well enjoy it in the process. So
hell yeah. Well, if y'all enjoyed this podcast, smash the like button, follow, subscribe, do all the above. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. We just hit 75K on IG.
Thank y'all.
Can't thank you guys enough for rocking with us. And can't thank Derek enough for having this fucking big brain that he conceptualizes, you know, and all the stuff. Can't thank our team enough. There's so many people I could give 1,000 thanks right now to, but, you know, we're just super appreciative. We'll never take this shit for granted, and we'll always keep working for y'all. So, you have anything else?
Love you guys.
Fuck y'all. Just kidding. Love y'all.